Welcome to the Sex, God, and Chaos podcast, a conversation built to help you address the mess, connect the dots, and defeat addiction. Doing your work matters because if nothing changes, then nothing changes. Life is tough and we're here to help. I'm your host, Ben Derrick, and as always, I'll be joined by Roan Hunter. Let's jump right in. Well, the Sex God Chaos Studio is hopping today, man. We're having some interesting conversations.
We're blowing and going. It feels like we're accomplishing great things.
Yeah, I'm like, you know what I'm trying to say is I'm really proud of us.
Excellent. I love that. I mean, you and I, neither one of us get to hear that very often.
Look, we go back to this moment often in our friendship, but when I was just entering in really to the deep work, I would call it, you pulled me aside, put your arm around me. You said, man, you are your own worst critic. Like you've got to let yourself off the hook. So these days, almost dying does something to you, man. I know this is revolutionary to everyone listening, but I've just got a new lease on life, and to sit in this podcast studio with you to talk about concepts of significance that are helping set people free and also bringing further clarity of my own understanding. Man, what a gift from God. And I love you as a friend. I love you as a brother. I'm very thankful for this time we have together.
Oh, dude. And likewise, that's just one of the joys of life is we say it often, getting to do something that you love with somebody you love. Man, there's nothing better. And so thankful that you survived, obviously.
Yeah.
You're still here, and we get to continue doing the things we love to do together. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it really is. And I think it's got me thinking in a particular way that I guess unapologetically I'll just bring to this episode today, in that I've been through a very chaotic season in my life. And I can remember sitting at a table, glass of bourbon in hand for me, and thinking, this may be the last time I sit at a table with these friends. And that's just a very disorienting thought. And it's brought me alongside a lot of other people who are experiencing literal chaos in their lives. And what we try to do as human beings is to reach homeostasis. Like, how do I settle this down? How do I orient in this very disorienting time that I'm in my life? And it's got me thinking about specifically people who have navigated betrayal or have experienced addiction. That's a huge part of it. So I'd like to really, at great risk today, try to, as best we can, give our listeners a path, a way to think that allows them also through this. It's obviously not definitive. It's not all encompassing. So I don't want to deal with that criticism. We're not saying, hey, this is the clinical definition of how to recover from betrayal. But in this episode, to say, if you're disoriented and you're looking to grow or you're looking to survive, what are the general phases that you need to be looking out for in that process? We call it a journey, very specifically. What are you looking for in these initial phases or these three phases? It's hard for me to get that pastor mindset out of my approach to life. What are the three things?
Yeah, we're trying to beat it out of you, dude.
Exactly.
It's getting better.
It's getting better. So I think, just for sake of time, maybe just to describe this concept in three phases. If I'm looking to grow, recover, heal, mature, whatever word you want to layer on top of it, how do I do that? Where does it start? Where does it move to? And then what's like the kind of the final end state here that we'll reach? So what I'd like to do is maybe take it in phase one, which would be just that initial life isn't working.
Yeah.
I love something you say, though. You say it works until it doesn't. I mean, it worked for a long time. Maybe that's something we can discuss in this phase one, but let's just walk around, if we can, for a few minutes, that phase one of when things are beginning, when the work is beginning.
Yeah, I think, maybe we'll call this episode bringing order to the chaos, right? It's one reason even I came up with our roadmap, the sex god and the chaos of betrayal. And
Which is in
into,
your book, by the way. We should mention that every couple of episodes.
we
That
should. Yes, kind of the book. Yeah.
the book, the roadmap is in a book. That book is available on Amazon. Search
Yes.
Sex, God, and Chaos. Purchase it, read it. It'll change your life.
Yes, absolutely. But the reason we came up with the roadmap is to really bring order to the chaos, because when all hell breaks loose, man, everybody is spinning on both sides. It's not just the betrayed partner. It's like, gosh, all this stuff I thought I was going to take to my grave is now out in the open. And those are the things that I was using to regulate my emotions. So by definition, I, as the betraying husband, the betrayer, I am emotionally dysregulated. And then the betrayed partner is completely emotionally dysregulated as well, because, like, this person that they thought they knew is like, I don't even know who I'm married to. I did not know these things. I knew nothing about this. And so, I mean, that rocks your entire orbit, right? And so everybody's spinning. And so that's the idea of, like, okay, order to the chaos. I mean, if somebody just walked in my office and, their house is on fire, they are in complete crisis, and I start doing the typical weird stuff that is done in counseling world, like, wow, how do you feel about that? I feel like my hair's on fire. I want to jump out your window. I don't know. But man, the weirdness in counseling world is just I don't know, it seems to be a given. But that's probably not going to help you in crisis mode. I need to bring, I mean, that, God brought order to the chaos. The earth was formless and void. And I mean, this is the story of our creation. Is God's bringing order to chaos, and so I've got to begin to see this thing as a process. I'm headed somewhere. I think that's important. What is the vision in this? And I'll steal from my teaching mentor, one of my spiritual mentors, Dr. Dallas Willard, which, John Mark Comer, he's just the younger version of Dallas Willard. That's why I love John Mark Comer.
Yeah.
He makes it a little more readable and understandable. But that's actually a shameless plug. I want to get him on the podcast. But it's Dallas Willard, and what Willard, one of the things he always talked about, his little acronym, he called it VIM, VIM, vision, intention, and means. And so I've got to have the vision of where I'm headed, and that's true in any endeavor in life, right? Where there is no vision, the people perish, right? I mean, all of these things that we know and we will apply to other areas of life, but for some reason we won't apply it to kind of our emotional growth, relational growth, like our vision for where we want to be. Where do I want to be in 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the road? Do I want to be in the same place as I am today, relationally and emotionally? No, man, I want to grow. I've got to have that vision. Well, a vision without the intention and without the means is just a wish, right? It's kind of like, I'm just going to go pray to Jesus that I'll have patience. Well, dude, you might as well go rub your lucky Jesus rabbit foot, because, patience is not something that I just, magically get from Jesus. Patience is one of those virtues, and those virtues are things that have to be put into practice in order to gain patience. It just doesn't magically manifest, right? And so the intention is just the idea, like, my will and spirit and heart have to be aligned in alignment with God's will for my life. And so now I've got the intention, because like all parts of me, every part of me, my relational, emotional, mental, physical, all of those things are now pointed in the right direction of like God's will for my life. And boy, that's a tricky one, because like, what's God's will for my life? I hear that all the time. People ask this question, and you do too. And I just go, man, I don't know. Who knows what God's will for your life is? But I guarantee you, if you begin to get relationally healthy, emotionally healthy, spiritual health will follow, and God's will for your life will be made very clear to you as you gain wisdom in this process of awareness, growth. We could even call it recovery, because that's what recovery is. I'm recovering the life that God intended me to live from the beginning. And so now my intentions are lined up. And then the means. Now that's where the rubber meets the road, because what are the things that I've got to have in place in order to get me where I want to go? Well, those are things like, I probably need to go see a good counselor, not a weird one. There's a lot of those out there, trust me.
Yep.
But I need to see somebody that has done their own work and can help lead me in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the first question you should ask your guide, right? Yeah. Have you been down this road? If they haven't, I probably need to go find another guide, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I've got to put the means to it. So finding a good mentor, counselor, coach, sponsor, dude, we could put 100 words on it, but it's just somebody that has life wisdom, right? And understands these things that we talk about day in and day out. That may not be the guy that can quote the Bible backwards and forwards. I want that guy on my Bible trivia team when Bible trivia breaks out in the parking lot at Walmart, because I'm competitive and I want to win. However, I also know that, man, that's the last guy I would want on my life team, because he's got some great knowledge, but boy, the practical aspects of putting it into place and living it out from a relational and emotional standpoint, no, I don't even want to be around that guy unless we're playing Bible trivia and he's on my team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I say that, but I mean, that's discernment, right? I mean, we meet people in this Christian journey, and boy, they can say all the right things and it sounds really good, but there is this concept of, I don't know, wolves in sheep's clothing. You need to really have discernment and understand the practical application of scripture into life.
Mm.
And life is all about relationship. The Bible is nothing, well, maybe it's a lot more, but the Bible is simply a story of a creator and his relationship with his people. It is relationship, relationship, relationship. And if somebody does not know how to function in relationship, that might not be the person I want to let guide me or lead me. So I've got to begin to put the means in place. And we talk about it, man. One of the best avenues for us to grow as men, I think it's the only avenue, is to like be in a healthy group of men that are all moving in the same direction, that understand these deeper things. They understand the not only the Christian talk, but they understand the therapy talk, right? They understand attachment issues. They understand boundaries. They understand codependency. They understand these things that we talk about day in and day out. And so that's called wisdom. And I need to be hanging around doing life with guys in that canoe, rowing in the same direction.
Mm.
So there's just a lot to like bringing order to the chaos. And those first steps are simply, okay, I got to find a guide that knows what they're doing. And then I've got to find a team in order to begin to, like, not just sitting for an hour with my guide, but now I'm going and beginning to put these things into place from a practical standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And we always talk about it, man. Life together in true, authentic community is just damn messy, right? I mean, you and I, we've experienced it with some of these guys that get butthurt over whatever. And I think, I believe that I know I've seen you do it. I know that you've seen me do it, where we go sit with a guy and like, hey man, I want this to be right. I know whatever I said, it was hurtful, or I mean, I'm going to own what I need to own, because I'm all about reconciliation, to everything that is possible for me to do in order to reconcile relationship. And but there's just a messy component, because I got no control over that other guy's mindset, right? He's got to make a choice. Can he grant forgiveness and administer grace? We talked about that in a previous episode.
Yeah, we
but
did.
but it's like this stuff gets down into the practical bone and marrow of living life in connected community.
Mm-hmm.
And there's certainly a process in order to be able to kind of bring order to the chaos.
So you're describing what in the vernacular we're using today, basically phase one. This is kind of phase one, man. Like, and it strikes me as you're talking today that we need to understand, all of us, that everyone's welcome, but everyone's not going to make it. That's a difficult reality.
Isn't that true? Yeah.
Everyone's not going to make it. Everyone who sits on the deck at deer camp, or everyone who sits in a women's circle for betrayed partners, everybody's welcome, but everybody's not going to make it, because what you just described, maybe we should have thought this out more and done an episode on every phase. But what you just described,
we might do that.
We may.
Yeah.
It's a Herculean effort for anybody to follow what you just put out there. I mean, the vision piece alone, when you were describing it, I was thinking, man, I don't know that I even have that with a lot of clarity, to be honest. Like I kind of oscillate in and out of understanding the vision for my life, and I kind of pull the focus in way too tight. A lot of times my anxiety causes me to do that, or my role as a parent. I mean, we could talk about this in a lot of different ways, but the vision piece alone is a huge mountain to climb for someone. And then talking about just zooming to the end there with the means, those means are really uncomfortable. I mean, going to a weekend is one thing. That's uncomfortable enough. But then committing every single week. A good friend of ours, I see him at the gym more frequently now that I'm, not dying of cancer. I see him at the gym a little more frequently.
We're going to be saying that forever.
Forever.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Ben's not dying now.
I'm not dying. Yeah, I ran into him, a good friend of ours, Matt. I ran into Matt just 2 days ago at the gym, and I was thinking, man, the two of us, we went to school together when we were younger. I'm like, man, we're still at this. This guy's still committing to being vulnerable as often as possible with other men, and so am I. That's a means thing, and it is incredibly difficult to commit to that way of life. So, but phase one really is committing to new things and different things than what got you in the mess that you're in the first place. So beginning to organize the chaos and inviting people in to your own personal version of 52 card pickup in your life. Like, there's a lot of cards. Can you help me pick these up? But we see a lot of guys, and I want to be very honest about this. We see a lot of guys that say they're just stuck there. They just don't move past that. And I would say, for me, I don't know if you would agree with this, but for me, that is equally as frustrating as the thing that got the man in the mess in the first place, or the woman in the mess in the first place.
Absolutely.
So let's describe just for a minute, if we can, what phase two or the next leap or the next level, however you want to talk about it. What does that look like? How would we describe that to a person who's never been there?
Mm. Well, man, it makes me think as you're talking about this, and you and I've talked about it. It, it, we see guys come to our men's coaching weekend. But our affectionate name is Deer Camp, and there are guys that come to that, and then continue to show up even as alumni, which is a great thing.
Yep.
Uh, but there's there's a certain percentage. I don't know what that would be, but I see a lot of guys that think, oh man, I've been to deer camp and now I've arrived, and that's kind of the end. I've made it. I've told my story and shared. Well, it's like I kind of believe that like church may be the entry point for a lot of people into a relationship with Jesus.
Mhm.
You hopefully you're going to a good church. You hopefully are going to get introduced to Jesus, and you're going to hear about him, and then maybe you let him become Lord of your life, and you begin to follow him. Well, okay. Entry point is okay. I think that probably most churches I that are here, they do a great job of that. Well, then it's kind of this second stage, maybe, and we'll just use deer camp.
Mhm.
Okay, a guy is like he's been doing the church thing. He's kind of bored. He doesn't see much happening. He's kind of tired of going to the wild game supper. The men's pancake breakfast is maybe kind of not quite what he's looking for, and then he, he hears about deer camp, and he comes and checks it out, and it's like, whoa, it's life-giving.
Mhm.
And he hears about another way, I believe, kind of the maybe not that we've got it all figured out, but
Mm-mm.
a way of living, a way of walking with Jesus in a real way. And so now it's like he's given this next entry point. And I and then some guys are maybe like, and it happens at church too, where they don't even have the yearning, or the pain hasn't gotten great enough to kind of like, man, there's got to be something more, right? And I think it's the same thing. Even like so now, you, I think we go to the next stage, and I'll just again, he's come to deer camp, but now, like, wow, I've arrived. And the thing that I see the difference is those of us that have struggled, have faced some kind of life or death issue,
Mm.
uh, are the ones, and again, uh, man, I would put sexual addiction in that category. Yeah, I think it certainly can be literal life and death, the risk of some horrible sexually transmitted disease,
Yeah.
getting shot by a hooker, a pimp. I mean, there's a lot of risk in these acting out behaviors.
Mhm.
A jealous husband. I often will ask people in my office, have you ever watched Dateline? Because they think the affair person is, oh no, they would never do that. And I'm like, well, I watch Dateline, murder porn. I watch it a lot and know they do that. That's real, right? I mean, this stuff it's not child's play. And, and so it's like, th- those of us that have experienced that level of pain, hurt, and the consequences of that, not only in our own life, but in the lives of those that are closest to us, are the ones that kind of, I think, get this idea that, man, I need to be dependent on God uh, every day, every moment of my life. And I would say, I mean, the same for you. I mean,
Mhm.
facing death literally. I mean, people that I know with that, it goes one of two ways. It's like they just get angry and bitter at God, and they completely walk away from God, or it takes them to a deeper place, which I've seen that with you, and I'm so thankful that has happened in your life.
Same.
And I've heard you say it. It's like, which is like, it's hard for people to understand. As I often say, man, I am so thankful for my full blown sexual addiction that God allowed that into my life. Man, I wouldn't trade that for anything. And I've heard my wife say that, which is amazing, because that very thing is the thing that has brought me into a real relationship, an intimate relationship with my God, with Jesus, in a very real way. That would have never happened. I always tell people that I'm much more prone to be the Pharisee, the shaming pastor. I could play that gig, and I could be a mega church pastor, because I could shame people into serving and giving, and I could do it well. That would be more my propensity. But, this thorn in my flesh is the thing that God has used in order to show me who he really is. And I am so grateful, and I am so thankful. And I've heard you say that about cancer in your life, which is crazy, right? Who says that?
Yeah. Well, the idea that it takes you into a depth of relationship with yourself and God and others that you would never, I personally believe I never would have obtained otherwise. So why, like, if that was the road, if that was the access point, the door to get there, why would I want you to like rip the door out and sheetrock over it? Like, no, man, that's how I got to this place. So I think that, the words that you're using to describe the second phase or the second movement, that it's a healthy dependence, it's consistent relationship, depth of relationship, and most importantly, gratitude. Those things, if you're not seeing that in your own life, or you're not seeing that in your partner, then it's an indicator that they're stuck. And we don't say that from a place of judgment. We say it from a place of compassion, that those conversations probably need to start happening. So let's take a quick break, hear from our sponsors. When we come back, I'd love to talk about that final place. And we don't want to call it an arrival, because it's not an arrival, but that point that we're all trying to get to, all of us on this health journey. What is that final lap, those final laps look like for those of us that are pursuing health?
This episode of Sex, God, and Chaos is brought to you by the Samson Society, a community of men who are tired of pretending and ready to start living in the light. For a lot of us, the hardest part of change isn't admitting we have a problem, it's believing we don't have to face it alone. That's what Samson Society is all about: brotherhood, honesty, and grace for men walking through struggles. There's no judgment, no posturing, and no perfect people allowed. Just men showing up, telling the truth, and finding freedom together. Whether you're a pastor, a husband, a businessman, or a guy who's just tired of being stuck, you'll find people who get it and who won't let you stay where you are. It's a place where every man has a place at the table. If you're ready to stop hiding and start healing, visit SamsonSociety.com. That's SamsonSociety.com, because isolation destroys men, but brotherhood brings them back to life.
So phase 3, I'm struggling through these names because this is a really complex process to try to break down into 3 separate movements. But we know.
Let me just say this. It's a lot simpler than Patrick Carnes's phases, because he has what we call the 30 tasks of recovery.
Man, I read that. I was like, this can't, who could do this, right?
Well, yeah, with each one of those, there are different, tasks within each one. And it's like, I mean, I don't particularly use that because it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Well,
this is a primer. It's basically a way to talk about this idea, and meaning that it's a journey, a continuation. There is no arrival, but we do know what it looks like when we see it. I think that's the thing we haven't said so far on this episode. So this is where this is really going to emerge. We know when we sit with a man or a woman who has done their work, who has been at it for a while, is not stuck in shame, is also not stuck in bitterness or resentment, is able to own, like you feel that when you sit with the person and you want to sit with them more. They're so attractive as people.
Yes.
But I'd like to just let's do a callback to the original part of this episode. I'd like to do a little bit of vision casting with you describing what does this final phase look like as you have gotten through the initial parts of organizing, and then you get into all these means being a regular part of your life. What does it look like? What does that healthy person look like? And I'm being very descriptive here because I believe that there are not many people like this in culture today. And there's especially not many people like this in culture that have a platform like we have on YouTube and podcasting. And there are not a lot of healthy people out there, a lot of influencers, but they're influencing in the wrong direction. So how would you describe someone who's reached this in their life? What do they look like?
Oh, man. I don't, like you said earlier, not that we ever arrive or reach this whatever place we're headed. But boy, I'm like you. I say it often. The only place I've ever met these types of people is in recovery circles. But again, if we talk about recovery, we have to remember, Jesus talked about recovery the first time he ever opened his mouth in public when he rolls out the scroll of Isaiah. And one of the things in there, he says that he came to bring recovery of sight to the blind. And so that's awareness, right? I mean, Jesus is talking about this stuff every time he opens his mouth. And so, as we often say, we believe that recovery is just simply, I'm recovering the life that God intended me to live from the very beginning before all hell broke loose in my life, right? And so, boy, this sounds so churchy. God has a plan for your life, Ben.
I love how you're apologizing for that.
But truly, God's plan for your life was to, in the ideal world we're not born into, his plan would have been that you're born into this world with a mom and dad that are emotionally regulated, relationally functional, whole people, well-boundaried, loving, nurturing, caring, kind. I mean, boy, what a pipe dream, right?
No, you're describing Overton Court, man. That's like, golly, it's like you grew up right beside me.
Yeah, exactly. but I mean, that's the reality of the fallen world. And so, but God's intention, we always remind people that, our bodies were created for Eden, not for this world that we're living in. And we often wonder why we have depression and anxiety and we want to go act out and comfort ourselves in some kind of escape form. Well, it all makes sense because we weren't made for this world. We were actually created for Eden. And I don't know if you've checked, but man, we don't live in Eden anymore.
Yeah.
But part of even our acting out, all this stuff is a trying to get back to the whole, right? We were connected to the whole in our mother's womb, and then we come out and we are sexed. The Latin word for sex is sacari. We are cut off. And we are literally cut off from the whole. And I believe so much of our journey is that we are trying to reconnect back to the whole. And, Eden was wholeness. Eden was perfection. And we're headed from, Eden to the shining city on a hill, right? And we'll be with Jesus and back to perfection with him, and all things are made right. However, in the meantime, man, how do we survive this crazy world? Well, we don't survive it alone. And so the thing that I see, because it's kind of this, man, one of the things I hate is how recovery is like the 12 steps, and it's treatment, and it's blah 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 whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, it's really not. Recovery is the Christian journey. I believe that recovery, much more, the 12 steps, all of this stuff, is much more aligned with the biblical model of growth and maturity, in wholeness in Christ, than our Western kind of theologically sound, all of those things that we talk about all the time, the performance-based Christianity, the approval-based Christianity, all of those things were rooted in a lot of it, it's Greek philosophy that filtered into the church, but it's not Hebrew. I mean, we talk about this often. And what I see is that, like, recovery is much more aligned with Eastern thinking than it is kind of the Western approach to God. And now, I mean, we're probably going to get letters and cards and all of that. But I believe that's the reality of where we are today. And in my journey of just being in recovery for 35 years, man, I just see people that are much more what I would just simply call a light to the world. They're a delight to be around. Man, not that their lives are perfect or that they're perfect, but boy, they are a joy. They are attractive. And I know a lot more people in recovery world that certainly are walking with Jesus, but than people that I've met along the way in church world that are those types. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. It's what, I mean, honestly, it's what attracted me out of the church world. Maybe better said, living in it, working in it. It's what made this community so attractive to me, because I'm like, oh, this feels closer to what we're trying to build in this building right now than what we've been able to pull off through our programs and our protocol and our budgets and our elders and deacons and all the things in the West that just consume entities that call themselves churches. Most importantly, the management of copious amounts of debt is what drives so much of the behavior inside of these buildings. Yes, it is incredibly attractive. And I think because I joined the community after having experienced church my entire life and the Bible my entire life. I can describe it succinctly almost with it's characterized by high levels of awareness. There's an extreme openness to feedback. There's an incredible deficiency of neediness in a person who has reached this level of their journey. There is an abiding faith that can withstand the pushback from people who are not members of a faith community. There's a lack of desire to proselytize or to change in a conversation or to win over to a political party. There's a settledness. There's a rest that happens inside of a person that has experienced the security of picking up those 52 cards, of categorizing them by suit, of understanding that somebody before they ever opened the box took out 6 cards and they're never coming back. That's okay, you know, and then to realize, well, I've actually been pretty negligent here in my own story. And as a result, I cannot meet someone else with vitriol, because that would be what comes right back to me. Whatever sin or grievance another man or woman has committed, I actually went first in my own life before I ever met them doing those things. So I think, you know, what I see, and this is just me, and it mirrors my story, and that I'm the youngest of the youngest, and I grew up around a lot of old people. But I picture the man sitting on the porch legs crossed, staring out into the backyard, not looking at a phone or reading a magazine, just at peace with his own thoughts and receptive to being interrupted. It looks a lot like that for me. And when I meet those kind of people who don't, the way that Henry Nouwen described it, who, by the way, very public now, struggled with same-sex attraction his entire life, but put things so beautifully in his writings. He explained that love is allowing someone into your space without first requiring them to change. And I have found that statement to be so very true in my life. If I am requiring someone to change before they enter into my space, then there's something broken in me that's driving. It doesn't mean that I accept everything about them. That's not love. But it is loving to sit with another in a place of security because you know who you are. You're a member of a community that reminds you that God has loved you well before the chaos broke out and the core beliefs went completely sideways. And certainly before you became friendly with all your coping mechanisms, then that allows you to sit with someone and be a man or a woman, a person of peace. And you describe it as light because Jesus described it that way. Good gosh, he didn't say you're an educated butthole on a hill that's trying to change everyone.
Yes.
That's not what he said, what he said was you're the light of the world. And man, there's nothing like sitting in the light of another and experiencing that acceptance and that wisdom. And I will say this too. I know that I'm on a little bit of a rant here, but that's what we do, right?
It is. Yep.
When we're describing that final phase, I would say, well, what's that person like? I would say, well, have you met Roan?
Yeah.
Have you met Roan? Have you met Jason? All right. Have you met Phil? Have you met Cadden? There's so many. We have a list, an Excel sheet miles long of men that are living this kind of life.
Well, it is. I just would call it freedom, right? The freedom in Christ to be who I am, who God created me to be, and to pursue the things that He has placed in my heart to pursue. It's moving out of that old false self, the coping mechanisms. And that's the thing. It's like we talk about this stuff, addiction, sobriety, treatment, blah, blah, blah. But in essence, what this is actually I would just call it the Christian journey. The good, theological words, sanctification, transformation. I'm actually beginning to put on, in the process of putting on the nature and character of Jesus as I mature in my faith. I mean, all of these things, that's what recovery really is. And that's why I always say I hate when the clinicians got involved in all this stuff, that's when it all went to hell. Because it's just simply more about relationship, right? Having a relationship with myself, understanding myself, becoming aware, understanding what it means to have boundaries, which is just simply my integrity, living out of my integrity, not compromising myself, because that's always going to create resentment. But every bit of this that we talk about, it just comes straight out of the Bible. We may say it a little different or whatever, but there ain't nothing new under the sun. And so this journey, I think, is, when we get to the place, I tell guys this all the time, when I can wake up and I can look in the mirror and the guy I see staring back at me, I can look at him and go, man, I like that guy. Wow. That's when this stuff is taking hold. And then when I, have to go to group, well, I no longer have to go to group. Man, I can't wait to get to the place where life happens, where I actually am blessed. Life is added to me, and I add life to others, because that's the way life was meant to be lived. And it's no longer a program, and it's no longer, well, I got to go to group tonight. Oh, hell, man, I cannot wait to be with my guys. And it's just like we have deer camp coming up this weekend. You haven't been because you almost died. And so you're going to be there this weekend. And so, man, I am pumped. I'm excited because I'm going to get to be with Ben and other guys that I just love dearly and do life with. It ain't a program, man. It is life, and it is where life actually happens.
To learn more about what you've heard today and to engage with the Sex, God, and Chaos team, visit sexgodchaos.com.